one of RuneScape's biggest challenges, to craft your own theater of blood.
Hello and welcome back to all 50 viewers. Last time we effectively made a sculpture of Bodhi, and this time we're going to turn it from Bodhi to a Swampletics diorama for real. So starting out, the idea was to sculpt everything out of clay, but after a couple of days of working on a sculpture and turning out with Gumby, I decided I need to change my strategy. Since I really wanted to capture the old school essence, I know I wanted to have sharp edges with a low poly count. So I headed over to the Makeover Mage to make my model look like Swampletics. There's actually a model exporter plugin on the plugin hub for RuneLite. This allows you to actually export the 3D model of your character or other objects within the game. Now, I know you have an idea of where this is going with 3D printing the model, and any normal person probably would have just went to that. But instead, I decided to download a software called Pepakura, which allows you to unfold the model so that you can do a paper craft by cutting it out and then folding it and gluing it all together with little tabs. So I worked on this for about 2 or 3 days, and the result actually was really good. The only problem was the model was really flimsy. So then I had the bright idea to make a thin sheet of clay and then cut out all of the pieces out of that clay. Then I can mold them together and bake it. Spoiler alert, this didn't work. I wasted a lot of time. It really sucked to do. So if you're ever wondering why videos like this take so long, it's not actually the process of building and constructing all of these things. It's more so the process of trial and error for learning how to do the thing. So after I wasted about a week and a half of my time, I decided to 3D print the models. The only issue is if you export these models, you'll notice that some of the objects are floating, so they won't print properly. And I actually don't know how to use Blender or any 3D modeling software, so I had to learn how to use that software so I could clean up the models so that I would effectively be able to print them. After that was done, I had to resurrect my 3D printing setup. Okay, let's see how that, let's see how this works. All right, the print is done. So let's get a first look. Oh, dude, these look so good. What the amazing, man. Check out that little rune scimitar, dude. What the fuck, dude? Look at that tiny little sim, dude. Little simmy. Little rune simmy, dude. See, that's a swamp lizard, dude. Look at that guy. Look at his face, dude. It's perfect. Yeah, buddy. Look at those, dude. I can put them on. No shot. That is so cool. They're actually staying on. They're staying on by themselves. What, dude? No way. That is cool. So as you can see, I was kind of blown away with the results. For all the models that I cleaned up as a part of this in Blender, I'll go ahead and include a link in the description so that you can download those files for free. Once I started comparing the scale of the models to the scale of my building, I realized that some of them were way too big. So I scaled down the models a little bit and printed a bunch more. I ended up actually sticking with the original oversized Swampletics because I knew I wanted it to be the center of the entire thing. So a larger, more dramatic model, even out of scale, will actually end up looking better even if it's not accurate. After I was done cleaning up the models, I went back to the building, and you already know what it is. It's your boy, black paint and Mod Podge mixed together. While I don't think this is a necessary step for every project, something like this building that has a ton of tiny parts that are all glued together, adding this additional layer will just help to hold all of those glue bonds together better. I did an initial dry brush of gray over the whole piece, and then I went through and I recolored the railings. I wanted them to stand out from the building so that they didn't look like stone, so I added some metallic paint to them. For the windows, I filled in the carved out cavities with red gemstone metallic paint, just because I really liked the way it looked, but the recesses of the windows didn't look right, so I went ahead and filled it with UV resin. This is just a really fast curing clear resin that will give it a glassy look. With the cavities actually being carved out and the paint on the inside as well, it adds an additional layer of depth. For the curved windows, you could actually see the brick pattern showing through, so I cured a thin layer of resin to smooth that out, painted over it, and then put more resin on top. Then it was back to the models.
This is, you know, an irreplaceable.
Most miniatures and resin 3D prints, paint doesn't adhere to it very well, so you need to put a primer on it so the paint has something that will actually stick to. And here you'll see why I do not do miniature painting tutorials.
Fuck.
Don't worry, I did end up fixing those eyes. I know King Rolled looks a little jank, but he does not look that jank. For the miniatures where I had multiples, I painted them in a batch fashion, just using some sticky tack and a disposable fork to get them all in one giant line so I could just work on them all at the same time. After some of these were completed, I wanted to start mapping out the composition of how I was going to arrange everything. So in order to do that, I needed to get the building set in place and have a base made for it. The ground of the Theater of Blood looks like it has some rocks in there, and so I just wanted to add just a little bit of texture using some sand and glue, and then I airbrushed the sand. Painting sand is a little tricky, so using an airbrush just makes it a lot easier, and it makes it much easier to achieve a smooth gradient. For Bodhi's handlebar mustache, I was originally going to fill this portion in with resin, but I had recently used some sealing wax in another project and I really liked the look that it gave me, so I used a mixture of black and red sealing wax and then moved it around to create movement so it looked like there was blood flowing in this archway. Once I built up the confidence, I started doing all the detailed paint work. You can see I'm kind of jumping back and forth between a lot of things, and that's because I'm actually building everything at the same time, moving on from piece to piece as something is either drying or cooling down. I didn't include clips of me painting everything because it felt a little bit redundant and I'm not doing anything too crazy, so I just included some of the very small detail work that I was doing. I definitely spent the most amount of time on the Swampletics model itself. I wanted to make sure that this looked as close as possible to the game because I knew this was going to be the centerpiece that the eye would be drawn to right away. So let me know how you think it turned out, and remember this message.
Whenever you feel like a nerd, just remember that I exist.
Because I had so much fun printing and painting the character models, and as a way to promote this video, I'm doing a giveaway. As long as this video reaches 10,000 views and gets 100 comments, I'm going to pull out 5 comments at random, print and paint your miniature and send it to you for free. Now this is only as long as you live in the United States. I recently tried to give something away to someone in another country and it actually ended up costing me a lot of money to just give something away. Now, if you're in another country and you don't mind paying for the shipping and customs fees, then you can still be included. Just mention that in the comments. Now, I know that 10,000 views and 100 comments sounds a bit shallow and a bit of a lofty goal for a channel that sucks as much as mine, but this is all in service of my original goal, which is to win a golden gnome. I think that my best shot is going to be for the best new artist category because there is no way in hell that I'm going to be able to stand up to RuneScape. That is absolute cinema. In the future, I'll probably do one OSRS build a year and just make builds that surround new content. Raids 4 is going to be coming out soon, and I think I can probably make a really cool diorama out of that. As always, I want to thank Dadlegs for the original backtrack for this video. Check out his other music or reach out to him if you want an original backtrack for your video. He's able to make copyright-free music based off of some references pretty quickly. I put his info in the description below. Wrapping everything up was mostly a matter of gluing everything into place, but for the corpse piles, I wanted them to all stay fused together. So for the feral vampires as well as the swamp lizards, I mixed up resin with a little bit of speed paint, and then I cured that all together, drizzling some resin on top. This hardened it all together and gave everything a wet look. Since they were a pile of corpses, I figure a little bit of blood or viscera would be appropriate. As I was putting everything in place, I felt like I wanted to add something more. It felt a little bit flat, and so that's when I decided that I would put the movie banner up. It was a little bit cheesy, so I decided to actually make this removable, so it's not fastened in place and it could be on or off. I just wrote on a leftover woven cloth napkin and then weathered it a little bit. To hold it in place, I used butcher's twine, which I twisted really tightly and then lit it on fire to get the extra strands off, and then I used super glue to harden it. Once you harden it with super glue in this fashion, you can actually break or snap pieces of it, which is how I created the angle that would be able to sit on the theater or come off. I had to clean up the base because you could see some cardboard corrugation. I just used a thin strip of foam to hide that, then painted it black. Then I created a lost and found sign. I also made this removable because it felt a bit on the nose. And that pretty much wrapped it up. So without further ado, I give you Swampletics, the diorama. Settled. If you're out there watching, this diorama has your name on it. Just reach out to me and we can find out a way to get this over to you. Don't forget to share and comment for a chance to win your very own custom character model, printed and painted by yours truly. I really appreciate everyone that took the time to check this out. It's been a pleasure to make. I have learned a lot, and hopefully this inspires you.
These ones don't zoom on my eyes as bad. Right?